We get asked all of the time whether ISAs are halal or haram. Good Muslims use ISAs. There's all these types of ISAs out there as well. You've got stocks and shares ISAs, you've got innovative finance ISAs, even cash ISAs that are offered by banks. I know it's all very, very complicated, but don't worry. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing exactly what they are, why they're so beneficial, and which ones are halal, and where you can get one for your own money. And for those of you who already know what an ISA is, watch along, because there's a few things in here that I'm going to mention that you probably didn't hear anywhere else. For those of you new to this channel, I'm Ibrahim Khan, and since 2016, I've helped millions of Muslims with their personal finances and investing. I run an investment firm called Curate Capital, and I've written a best-selling book. I hold qualifications in Islamic law, investment management, and corporate law as well. Stick around, because what we are going to be learning here today could be the key to transforming your financial future. An ISA stands for an individual savings account, and they are a tax-efficient way in the UK that people can save and invest for their future. There are many types of ISAs out there, but they all have one thing in common. Any dividends or profits or growth that you make on your investment, you have it inside of this account that is completely free from capital gains or income tax or any kinds of tax. This is particularly important right now because with capital gains tax, you have a pot of money that is tax-free anyway. But that has come down over the years because the government has slashed it. Before, you could put up to 12,300 as capital gains tax-free, but then it came down to 6,000 in 2023, and now it's actually £3,000. So ISA investing is more important than ever before. A common misconception is that all these ISAs are haram. They aren't. Think of an ISA like a shopping basket. A shopping basket isn't inherently haram or halal. It's just the place that you store your groceries in. And of course, you should only choose the halal items off the shelf. So you wouldn't put pork and alcohol in your shopping basket. And similarly, with your ISA, it isn't inherently haram, but you have to make sure that the stocks and shares or the different types of investment that you're putting into this basket are actually Sharia compliant. More on this later on, inshallah. Okay, now that we understand what an ISA is, let's dive into the different types of ISAs that are available and explore which ones will align most with Islamic principles. There are 5 main types of ISAs out there. You've got a cash ISA, stocks and shares ISA, innovative finance ISA, lifetime ISA, and a junior ISA. A cash ISA is a savings account. At a conventional bank, you will deposit the money and you will receive interest. And a cash ISA means no tax is paid on that interest received. But be careful, the interest is riba, and that makes the vast majority of cash ISAs completely impermissible. Now, Muslims can explore halal options, however, with Islamic banks such as Gatehouse or Ar-Rayyan or BLME, and even others through Raisin such as Qatar Investment Bank. But where instead of a fixed interest-bearing return, these banks will give you a return that is from the profits that they generate from their Sharia compliant activities that they are up to. A cash ISA is suitable for people with short-term savings goals. For example, they have saving goals that are less than 5 years, and it can be a great place to store away emergency funds as well, because that way the emergency funds do grow, but they are very easily accessible and they are in a place that is very, very safe. If you're able to take more risks, however, a stocks and shares ISA is a much better option for your financial freedom long term. A stocks and shares ISA lets you invest in the stock market without having to pay any tax on the capital or the growth. And it's great for people who are investing over the long term. What that means is it's great for people with that moderate or aggressive risk appetite, because for people in stocks and shares ISAs, you will experience short-term market fluctuations, but that's perfectly fine because you're going to be holding for the long term anyway. So the question is, are stocks and shares ISAs halal? Well, let's revisit the shopping basket analogy. Similar to different foods being halal or haram, stocks have the same principle. And as long as you have invested in only the halal stocks, then your stocks and shares ISA will also be completely halal. With a stocks and shares ISA, you can approach it in multiple ways. You can either go for a DIY stocks and shares ISA, so you can actually buy the individual stocks, and you can use an app such as Zoya or Islamically or Musaffa and actually screen the stock before you buy it to make sure that it is actually halal. Another way that you can approach it is, rather than buying individual companies, you can buy a Sharia compliant ETF or an exchange traded fund. This is like a mixture of lots of different companies or stocks all in one. It's a much safer route because you're investing in a much larger range of companies, and also typically these ETFs are tracking a wider index. And so there is someone who is basically looking to match the market at some level. And that means that you have a lot less risk and volatility associated with it. Plus, the Sharia compliance side of things is actually already done for you as well. To set up a stocks and shares ISA like this, you can go to pretty much any stockbroker in the UK today. It could be AJ Bell, Hargreaves Lansdown, Trading 212, Free Trade, Interactive Brokers. The list goes on and on. The other way that you can access a stocks and shares ISA is by using a robo-advisor. These are companies where you just give them the risk tolerance, you tell them your investment timeline and your financial goals, and then they will actually invest that money for you. It's a lot more of a hands-off approach, but you have to be careful because with a robo-advisor, they will actually charge you fees for the privilege of managing your money, and that will eat into your returns in the long term a little bit. If you want to go down the robo-advisor route, there are some great players out there. They include Wahid Invest or Simply Ethical. And in the UAE, you've got people like Sarwa. And in the USA, you've got people like Sharia Portfolio and the Amana funds as well. Overall then, a stocks and shares ISA is one of the key secret weapons that you have to becoming an ISA millionaire. Take a look at this video where we outline just how powerful ISAs can be, where you invest £1,667 a month, £20,000 a year, which is your ISA limit, for 40 years. And that will end up, because of the compounding returns element of the stocks and shares ISA, that will end up making somewhere close to £4.37 million by the age of 65, assuming a 7.5% return, which is pretty normal to assume. So you could be a stocks and shares ISA within a matter of just 1 or 2 decades, and then you could become a multi-millionaire over the next few decades after that. And talking about secret weapons for your investments, I am possibly one of them as well. So add me to your toolkit by making sure that you click the subscribe button, and make sure that you share this absolute weapon that is sat in front of you with your friends and family as well. And they will thank you for it, possibly not as much initially, but like their investments, a lot more after 5 or 10 years because of the power of compounding. So bank away that thanks by sharing the video. The Innovative Finance ISA is the less well-known member of the ISA family, but it does allow you to invest in a number of alternative products such as peer-to-peer lending and alternative finance that are crowd-funded. It's a relatively new ISA, so not as many people know about it, but it's an excellent way to get access to those kind of investments that give you a regular income. So for those of you who are getting closer to retirement, for example, or just want to put aside a pot of money to get a regular income from, it's a great way of doing that. But you have to be careful because the vast majority of innovative finance ISAs are not Sharia compliant. There are, however, Sharia compliant options available out there. There are 2 main ones today. The first of those is Nesta, which offers you access to property finance offered in a Sharia compliant way, with returns typically ranging anywhere between 7% up to 9.5%. You are locked in for the duration of the investment, which is somewhere between 12 to 24 months usually. However, they have this ability for investors on the platform to be able to sell their stakes to other people, and typically those are quite popular, so it is a relatively liquid way of actually investing your money. The alternative is with Curate Capital, which is one of our funds, in particular the Curate Capital GBP Income Fund, and latterly we have another product called the Pharmacy Income product as well. With the GBP Income Fund, you get a return of 7.5% if you're a member, and that fund is diversified across a whole range of property investments, where underlying it you have either real estate or Islamic mortgages or bridge finance, all backed by property, which offers you a nice steady return over a period of time. there is a 3-month notice period, so you can get your money out, but you need to give a 3-month notice before you do that. You can also just reinvest the returns and just let that mount up over time quite easily, which is harder to do with other platforms. With our pharmacy income product, you are locked in for a longer period of time, 2 to 3 years, so there isn't very much liquidity, but you do get a higher return of 10%. And again, you do have the benefit of security, in this case, NHS receivables. On the risk spectrum, the innovative finance ISA is typically higher risk than a cash ISA for sure, and it depends on what you're investing in your stocks and shares ISA, but it can typically slot in under the stocks and shares ISA. Stocks and shares ISAs can sometimes be the same level of risk or sometimes higher levels of risk than an innovative finance ISA. Now, let's turn to the lifetime ISA. A LISA is an investment account that allows you to save up to £4,000 per tax year with an extra government boost of £1,000 or 25% on top of that. Yeah, that's right. The government is literally giving you away free money as long as you invest £4,000 into a lifetime ISA. The first time I heard about this, I literally fell off my chair. Well, perhaps not literally, but I was very excited. Literally, the government is giving you £1,000 for free. And if you're married, then you get £2,000. If you're saving up £8,000 a year anyway, you might as well take the extra £2,000 off the government and increase your returns by 25% on day zero. There are, however, some rigid restrictions when it comes to the use of a lifetime ISA. It's particularly useful for those who are saving up for their first home, because you can take all of that money out and use it as a deposit and pay towards your house that you are buying for the first time. There are also other ways that you can use a lifetime ISA. That way is where you lock it in for a longer period of time, and then you can start withdrawing it once you get past your 40s. So make sure that you do your research that the lifetime ISA is actually right for you. Now, the other question that I often get is it halal to do a lifetime ISA? Now, the government giving you money as a grant, there's no issue with that whatsoever. It's not interest, so you can definitely take that grant money. Now, in terms of the actual product, you get two types of lifetime ISAs. You get either the cash lifetime ISA that is offered by various different banks, and if that is giving you an interest-based return, then unfortunately it isn't permissible. However, you do also get stocks and shares lifetime ISAs, and as long as you are investing in halal stocks and shares or ETFs, then that is actually perfectly permissible. If you're looking to open up a stocks and shares lifetime ISA, you can easily do so with companies like AJ Bell and Hargreaves Lansdown. A junior ISA is an investment account that is perfect for those of you who've got children. It allows you to save up to £9,000 per tax year for your child under the age of 18. And this allowance is separate to the £20,000 adult allowance that you may have. So your child won't be able to touch this money until they are actually 18, but it can be a great way for you to park away more money that is tax-free, because ultimately you will be contributing and giving them money anyway, right? And so that's a great way for you to save for their future. Perhaps you might want to save for their university fees or their student accommodation or for their wedding. All of that can be saved within a junior ISA. Is it halal? Well, again, it's actually exactly the same analysis as for a lifetime ISA. You can get a cash ISA that is a junior cash ISA, or you can get a junior stocks and shares ISA. If it's a cash ISA, it needs to be with an Islamic bank. If it's a stocks and shares ISA, you need to be investing in halal things. And as long as those two things are true, you can go for it. Okay, now that we've covered what types of ISAs are actually available out there, let's get into some of those nitty-gritty questions that catch many people out and need to be answered if you are going to go into an ISA investment with your eyes wide open. From the tax year 2024-2025, you can actually open as many types of ISAs with different providers as you like. Apart from the lifetime ISA, that is, you can only have one of those. You could hold a stocks and shares ISA, you could hold a cash ISA with AJ Bell, or you could have an innovative finance ISA with Curate Capital. And as long as you don't exceed the £20,000 allowance, then you'll be perfectly golden. So for example, you've got a couple who have 2 children. They can very happily put £20,000 each for themselves plus £9,000 each for their children, which adds up to a grand total of a whopping £58,000 that can be entirely tax-free every single year for that family, which is absolutely massive as an investment. Because with that £58,000, when you compound it up with all of the taxes that you end up saving, you are actually ending up making a return of 20 to 40% extra on top of your investment simply by having it in a tax-free wrapper. So the moral of the story is, I think, have more kids, possibly. Now, another common question we get is, the gains that we make in our ISA, do they count towards the ISA allowance? The answer is no, they don't. Only the money going in, i.e. the deposits that you initially make, that is what counts towards your allowance on an annual basis. The other thing to watch out for is that ISAs operate on a use it or lose it basis. So every tax year, if you haven't taken advantage of that £20,000, you're never going to get it back. And that is actually really, really valuable for you, because once you make that investment, it's safe. It's laughing and happy and running around in this shopping basket that is called the ISA forever, happily growing tax-free. But if you don't use it, then unfortunately you've actually lost the ability to save £20,000 tax-free. So over a decade, let's say you've got a couple, they will have lost the ability to save up to £400,000 tax-free if they haven't been taking advantage of their ISAs. And they might now be 30 or 40 or 50, and they've lost potentially multiple decades of allowances that they could have otherwise have been hoovering up. And unfortunately, before you ask, you can't transfer your ISA allowance to other people. And you can't have an ISA if you are in a limited company either. An ISA has to be in an individual's name. People sometimes ask me, how much should I invest into my ISA? And my answer is, that's not a question about ISAs, it's a question about investments generally. And as a rule, I would say you should invest as much as you can humanly possible without putting yourself into difficulty. And certainly try and take advantage of the 20,000 allowance by maxing it out as much as you possibly can do using an innovative finance ISA, a cash ISA, or a stocks and shares ISA, or a lifetime ISA. Now, another question we get is, if I withdraw money from my ISA, does that use up my allowance? Well, it depends on the kind of provider that you're with. Some providers offer flexible ISAs, which means that it doesn't count if you withdraw out and then you put your money back in. However, most providers will not offer that. And so when you withdraw your money out, you are then effectively losing that year's allowance, because you put that money in and you used up, let's say, £5,000, and then you took that £5,000 out, you still only have £15,000 left. If you went for a flexible ISA, you would have the full 20,000. So you have to be careful about that. The good news, however, is that you can very easily shift between different ISA providers, and this is because the government designed it this way. You can actually even shift from a stocks and shares ISA to an innovative finance ISA, which we see a lot of on Curate Capital, because innovative finance ISAs are the only ISAs we offer, and many people have stocks and shares ISAs or cash ISAs, and so they will transfer to us. So that's not a problem whatsoever. It's a pretty simple process, and it keeps your wealth growing tax-free over multiple years, over multiple providers. If you get sick of a certain provider, their fees may have gone up, whatever the case might be, you can easily switch to someone else and start again, but keep the full tax wrapper that you have built up over the last several years. So folks, if you're still with me, you deserve a massive congratulations. You have mastered the art of ISA investing. You know what they are, you know where you can find the halal ones, and you know how you should be navigating all of the tricky ISA rules that surround this particular type of investment vehicle. And I would invite you to think about ISA investing not just about growing your wealth, it's about trying to reclaim some autonomy over your life and living it on your own terms. Whether that's trying to spend more time with your family because you now have an income coming in from your investments, or giving back more to charity, or giving to your local community, or going on an Umrah or a Hajj that you've now actually saved up for sensibly over a period of 5 years and can easily afford it. Whatever the case might be, investing in a sensible, halal manner with a long-term mindset can be done very effectively using things like ISAs. Folks, that's it for today. I would love to hear from you in the comments below. What stocks and shares ISAs and cash ISAs and innovative finance ISAs you use, and what were your experiences like? Share them if they were good or bad, so everyone can benefit from from your experience. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum.